Welcome to Secretly Sporty. I am your host, Sebastian Langdell, and I'm joined by my co-creator, Austin Rackless. Hey, Austin.
Hey, Sebastian, how's it going?
It is good. How's your week going?
It's good. I did something pretty fun yesterday, and I found an old Jane Fonda workout video on YouTube, and I did that as my exercise for the day.
And how did it go?
I mean, I worked up a sweat. Did I do the same moves that they were doing on screen? Maybe 10% of the time. They really expect you to be able to pick up choreo in a way that is just not in my skill set. But I was like, you know what? I'm maybe not ball changing correctly, but we're moving and we're getting calories burned.
I, too, this weekend checked out a Jane Fonda video. And not by coincidence, I think, because our guest, Carolina A. Miranda, speaks really impressively about the aesthetics and joy of 80s workout videos and who kind of encouraged us to check them out and try one.
Yes.
Carolina, an arts writer, brings such a kind of art-focused eye to exercise videos and to everything that she does and to all elements of life. And I think that really comes across in the interview.
Carolina was a columnist for the LA Times for several years, and now she freelances for a variety of publications, including The Atlantic, The New York Times, The Washington Post.
I gotta say, and after talking to Carolina, I feel like my eye was attuned to the aesthetics that much more, and especially to color.
Yeah, I had a really enjoyable time paying attention to the aesthetics as well that Carolina pointed out. I mean, one, that the lighting was quite warm, and as you said, the colors were really bright. Did you have a woman sing in your video?
No.
She brought up Leslie, who sang some songs. It really did feel like being in a music video.
We talk about that in this episode too, you know, the way that like early MTV kind of overlaps with 80s workout videos and the way music and aesthetics and dance combine.
Absolutely. I thought it was just such a fun conversation and just such a different way of thinking about exercise, like specifically like honing in on that aesthetics of it was just a fascinating conversation to have.
She also ran many half marathons, and we talk a little bit about her running through different neighborhoods of LA, eating at different kind of food joints in LA, and how these different neighborhoods compared, which I just really enjoyed too, because of course you and I are both from LA. You still live there. We both grew up there. We grew up there together. I like thinking about the kind of geography of LA and how she's brought that into her training and her approach to exercise too.
Yeah.
She also lets us know which song she always listens to first when she's working out.
And it's a good one.
We'll let you find it.
Shall we get into it?
Let's get into it. Here is Rest Day Radio with Carolina A. Miranda. Carolina, welcome to Secretly Sporty. It's a joy to have you here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy the show.
We like to start by asking about your most recent workout. So how did it go and what did you do?
My most recent workout, comically enough, I've been doing the Buns of Steel videos
Okay.
from the early 1980s that I've been digging up on YouTube. So yes, I'm aiming for Buns of Steel. It went pretty well. There was one workout that was like a little wonky and like one of my legs was making a weird clicking noise, but other than that, I think it went pretty well. So
Awesome.
I got into these because I injured my hand. I sliced my finger open while cooking. And so I usually do like a lot of weight workouts, kettlebells, and it was just very difficult. It's my index finger. So it was very difficult to grip anything. And I couldn't really do push-ups or planks or anything that put pressure on my hand because it was a pretty sizable cut.
Wow, sorry.
And so I started doing like standing workouts. And then for some reason, I don't know, I came across one of the Jane Fonda workouts and I was like, this will be kind of fun. And it just got me into this rabbit hole of like 1980s. Like I grew up in the 80s. I'm Gen X, like workout phenomenon. So I've done
Yeah.
a bunch of the Jane Fonda workouts, which are actually quite rigorous. Like if you want a good sweaty workout, absolutely do a Jane Fonda workout. Like
Right.
she meant business. Like she was not messing around. And so as a result of that, I've gone in looking for other things.
One of the clips that you sent over had this kind of psychedelic feel to it. I found myself wondering, like, is this really for working out?
The video I sent you was this series screened on Showtime called Aerobicize.
Yeah.
And Aerobicize, I think it was like 1982 around there. It's one or two women on basically a giant lazy Susan spinning around and doing aerobics, but in really provocative ways, like
Yeah.
throwing their head back. And I tried doing one of those workouts. As workout videos, they're useless because
I was going to say, yeah.
you don't get enough instruction. And then the way they're shot is like there's so many close ups on the women's bodies that sometimes you have to wait a minute to figure out what it is they're doing so that you can repeat the motion.
Right.
But this whole era has just been kind of interesting to me because as somebody who writes about like design and visual
Yeah.
culture, the visuals of them can be really startling. Like if you have not watched an 80s workout video, like the color, the backgrounds,
Yeah.
the shiny fabrics, the headbands, the women coming in to do their workouts with full hair and makeup and earrings and Daisy Dukes and denim
Right.
jackets, like the whole thing is just kind of bonkers. But then it's also part of this moment in the 1980s where like home video is becoming a thing. It's
Mm.
possible to do these types of workouts at home. You know, more and more of these like fitness providers are specifically targeting women. Like it used to be that a woman in a gym was kind of seen as an oddity. We're
Mm.
really in like the late 1970s. So, sort of post Title IX in the 1970s and 80s, like fitness became something that the average woman actively did. And so you had this whole wave of like aerobics videos targeting this market, mostly women, except for aerobicize, which I'm convinced is just for men to look at. Like
I
it's
was
not
going to
for
say,
anybody
yeah.
to work out to. So it's been this kind of fun rabbit hole into this
Yeah.
moment of our culture and also just kind of this weird lesson that every generation has a fitness influencer that reinvents lunges and squats with a special
Right.
name. So it could be HIT
Yeah.
or it could be Buns of Steel, but you're going to
Right.
be doing some of the same exercises.
I know. I remember being in, I think it was like high school and just doing, do you remember Tai Bo? Like
Yes.
those like exercise videos, the Tai Bo ones, just doing those in some dark windowless room on our campus. And that was PE class. It was just like, we're just punching the air. Those were visually a lot less stimulating than what you're talking about,
Oh,
though.
yeah. I mean, it's really going back and looking at these videos, it's kind of sad how monochromatic and serious workout videos have gotten. Like a lot of the influencers I follow, you know, they have the austere monochromatic backgrounds. They wear black and white clothing or beige leotards. Maybe there's a nice plant. It's all styled in this very sort of bland and tasteful way. Whereas you watch some of that Jane Fonda stuff, and they are in these absolutely wild colors in a
Yeah.
studio with pink walls. In one of them, Jane is wearing like a lace bodysuit. And then
Hmm.
for the cool down, all of the people doing the workout pull sunglasses out of their bras and put the sunglasses on for their cool down. It's almost like watching this insane musical that you can participate in.
Yeah.
And there's something kind of joyful and funny. And, you know, like the dancers are whooping and hollering. It sounds like
Yeah.
everybody's like Speedy Gonzalez all of a sudden. And they kind of look like they're at a party. Whereas
Right.
like workouts now feel like this thing of like, okay, I'm going to now optimize.
When I hear you talk about that, I think about the birth of MTV
Yes.
and how maybe that made its way into music videos, like the backup dancers and the kind of sense of infusing style.
It's interesting because when I did the first Jane Fonda ones, I was like, oh my God, everybody in this video looks like they're a backup dancer for like a Rod Stewart video.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like definitely these aesthetics were feeding each other in a
Mm.
way. And I think, especially with the Jane Fonda workouts, they do have like an element of dance, or probably dance is the wrong word, of coordinated steps. You're not just
Mm.
doing one exercise and repeating it, you're doing a whole sequence of steps, almost like a choreography. And so there is this dance element to it. Like I did one where all the dancers are on this set that mimics a roof. If you turn the sound off, it could almost be the backup for some like like early 80s pop
Yeah.
band, almost like a Cyndi Lauper. If you think of like some of the
Right.
classic Cyndi Lauper videos with this very exuberant dancing that is going on in the
Yeah.
background.
For sure. So pre-injury, what was your kind of like ideal workout week? What did it look like?
I was doing a combination of sort of cardio driven hit workout videos and then strength training with like kettlebells as a regular part of the
Mm.
rotation. You know, I'm a woman in my 50s. I have a lot of rage, and I just find that kettlebells is just such a great exercise to get out rage. Like, I'm just going to swing this really heavy metal thing
Yeah.
like, till I can no longer do it.
Are you ever tempted to just like swing it and let it go and just see how far?
Not really, because I work out in the studio where I write, so it would just be pretty
Okay.
destructive.
Trying not to bust holes in walls. Yeah, fair
I
enough.
do think about that though. I was like, I really better hold on to this because it could
Yeah.
be really bad.
I think about that at the gym sometimes when I just see
Oh
people really
yeah.
getting into the kettlebells. Like, hold on to that.
Got into them during COVID. I've been doing a lot of yoga, and I just felt like, yoga can be incredibly vigorous and offer you a lot of flexibility, but I just needed something different and something,
Yeah.
again, where I could channel a bit more rage. And
Yeah.
so I came to kettlebells over the pandemic and just started watching all of these videos online and got into the exercise that way. And then over time, it's also this thing of like finding different instructors, analyzing their backdrops, like what they're wearing. I'm always like really intrigued by what is the
Mm.
backdrop to these
Yeah.
workout videos. That's kind of been my go-to. And in an ideal week, I mix hit and kettlebells. And I try to get in an ideal week to get in 5 workouts, 5 days a week. And
Mm.
even if I'm having a day that is because I'm a freelancer, so my schedule really varies from one week
Mm.
to the next. Sometimes I just have a day where I'm deadline and I can't take like a long workout. I'll just do like 8 minutes of abs or 8 minutes of
Hmm.
arms or what, just something to
Yeah.
move around and then get on with my day. So that's
Yeah.
that's an ideal week. Sometimes I'll do series. Like earlier this year, I did like a whole 12-week series of strength
Mm.
training that this fitness instructor, Heather Robertson, has on YouTube. And I just find, the workouts are about 40 minutes and they can be pretty vigorous. For a middle aged lady, being able to do push ups is kind of a nice thing.
Yeah. It's awesome. What was your relationship to exercise like early on, like in childhood years, teenage years?
I was never particularly athletic. Like, I was never
Mm.
in organized sports or things like that. I was a band geek.
What was your instrument?
I played string bass in the orchestra and in
Nice.
the jazz group. And
Okay.
then I played trombone in the marching band because,
Oh, nice.
got to get the nerd quotient up as high as possible. Exercise was always this thing like I would gravitate to in different ways, more out of an interest in learning something than in the
Mm.
idea of exercising for exercising's sake. So I did intramural swimming in high school, growing up relatively close to the beach, like
Mhm.
becoming a good swimmer seemed like a good thing to
Yeah.
do. I went through a period where I was boxing
Oh,
'cause I
nice.
was like, I should know how to throw a punch. It's like just a good thing to know.
Yeah.
I did quite a bit of running in high school, but never that seriously. And then when I got into college, that was really when I took up running.
Mm.
College was when I began to do it with more regularity. And it's really been the one thing that I have kind of kept up fairly consistently. Like I kind of always go back to over the years. But now that I'm in my mid 50s and my knees, they're good, but a little crunchy now and again, I feel like, maybe it's time to pursue something different.
Right. You wrote this great article for the LA Times about running. I think you were training for a half marathon.
Yes, there was a period where I ran several. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were running to certain food joints like in LA. And it made me so hungry. It was, it was so well written, but also, what a cool idea.
That was actually at the prompting of a friend of mine who's run full marathons. Like I was running
Mm.
at the time, but I was doing short runs. I'd do like 3 miles, maybe 4 miles.
Yep.
And one of my college roommates, my friend Maria, moved to LA and we were all hanging out one day and she was thinking about doing another marathon, but her knee was not so great. And then it was like, oh, well, why don't we all do a half marathon? And so we got my friend Abby involved as well. And it became the three of us. It became really a way for the three of us to hang out. And because Maria and and Abby were relatively new to LA, like I'm from LA, it became this opportunity like, well, why don't we run around different parts of LA so that way, A, we don't get bored, and
Hmm.
B, you guys can see different parts of the city. So we
Mm.
ran in Beverly Hills, we ran in Santa Monica, we ran in Compton, we ran in East LA, like we ran in the foothills. And at the end of each run, we would go get something to eat. So then it became, oh, well, we could plan our runs around something interesting to eat.
Yeah.
So when we ran something like 9 miles in Compton and ended up at, I think it was Bloodsoe's barbecue, like eating
Uh-huh.
rib tips. It was so not the ideal. Like a serious runner would just probably cringe at what we would
Right.
eat after the run. But we were having a great time and we were seeing LA and nobody was out to set any records or anything like that.
Do you have one place that like really sticks out to you as your favorite from that period? Like your favorite
Mm.
neighborhood run in LA?
Well, Compton was flat, which was
Hmm.
really
That's
nice.
nice.
And we also at one point were like greeted by this flotilla of lowriders, which was kind
Uh-huh.
of this amazing LA sight, like they were cheering us
Yeah.
on. But I really love one day we had to do a 10-mile run. And my friend Abby lived right off of Sunset Boulevard on the east side in Echo Park. And we're like, let's get up really early and just run Sunset Boulevard until we hit the 10-mile mark. And so it took us from Echo Park all the way to Beverly Hills. And it was just such an amazing way to
Mm.
see kind of the breadth of the city because you start in this historically Mexican neighborhood, you work your way through Hollywood, West Hollywood, and then end up in like leafy, glamorous Beverly Hills. And you've just seen kind of the breadth of the city.
Right.
Have you done marathons or half marathons?
Yeah. Yeah. More half marathons, but I've also run a marathon. Yeah.
Oh, wow. How do you manage the long run question?
I'm very music
Mm.
driven. So when I was training for a marathon, I would just kind of curate the playlist that I wanted to listen to and not let myself listen to it until I was out and kind of like look forward to like maybe new songs that I put in there that I hadn't heard
Oh,
yet or
nice.
just like
Yeah.
favorite songs deeper in the mix, that kind of thing. What music do you like to listen to when you're working out?
A lot of hip hop, Latin music, reggaeton, because they tend to have just very like driving beats. And
Yeah.
so I always love to start whatever the running mix is, even if I'm adding new songs to it, whatever, is start with Biggie Smalls Kick in the Door. Because
Okay,
it just
nice.
has this like terrific beat. And it's like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
getting going. Let's do this.
Can we talk a little bit about how you got into arts writing?
I kind of had this early career where I kind of couldn't figure out exactly what I wanted to do. And I was working as a general assignment reporter at Time Magazine. One week I could be reporting on Al Qaeda files, cases. And then the next week I might be interviewing Scarlett Johansson. It was very varied. So it kind of allowed me to try to figure out what I was into. And I was always interested in culture, but hadn't quite found an in. And Time back in the day had this like amazing snack closet with like
Okay.
sodas and chips and Pepperidge Farm goldfish. And I was headed to the snack closet and happened to walk in front of an editor's office right as they were looking to assign a story about architecture. And he was like, Carolina.
Thank God for snacks.
Exactly. And he assigned me this story about architecture. I knew exactly zero about architecture at the time. It was not really an area of culture that I was
Yeah.
following. And I
Mm.
think that was really the assignment that helped spark for me an interest in not just being an art aficionado and going to museums and galleries, which I had always done, but it being something that I could write about and that actually I might have something interesting to say about it because so much of art and architecture is written about in this very like turgid academic
Yeah.
language, art speak, architecture speak, everything's about hybridizing and being in liminal space and blah blah blah, and it's
Yeah.
just like really exhausting. Like, yeah, can you take these complicated concepts and translate them into something that feels relevant and connects with your life? So it was like it chose me.
Yeah. How did that change your relationship with like standing before a piece or within a piece of visual art?
It really taught me to look in a whole new way that,
Right.
everything around us is constantly sending messages about who we are, what our politics are, what our preferences are. And I think art is about picking up on those cues, from the material it's made from to the message that it's trying to send. And, a lot of people go to museums and it's almost like checklist art gazing, like, okay, I
Yeah.
saw the Van Gogh, I saw the Mona Lisa, the
Yeah.
Picasso, and now I can move on with my
I'm
life. And,
done.
I've
Yeah.
read all the wall text and I've eaten my vegetables and I've done the
Yeah.
thing. And I think what writing about art taught me was that no, it's about kind of sitting down in front of the painting and letting it speak to you. And sometimes it says nothing.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. And so, but sometimes you sit there and you see new things, or you feel new things, or you experience something related to color or line that maybe you had not experienced before. And I think it just makes you way more attentive to everything around you, not just art, but the way people design their houses, the backdrop in a 1980s workout video.
Exactly. Yeah.
The way it teaches you to look has been the most incredible part.
Absolutely. You mentioned that you work out in your studio. What is your kind of ideal rhythm between working out and working and writing?
My most productive hours as a writer tend to be like in the morning and then in the late afternoon, early evenings.
Mm.
I love to work out right before lunch, which is kind of this moment that I hit a dead zone in writing. I'm a little
Mm.
hungry. I've been working for a few hours. I'm rewriting the same sentence over and over. And to take time, do a half hour, 45-minute, 1 hour workout, eat lunch, and then go back to it. It's like you come back to it and your brain is refreshed.
I know some writers who are such kind of morning purists. So I always like hearing about people who also work well into the evening hours.
Oh, I'm a total night owl. Just
Yeah.
like in my ideal universe, I would get up at 10 every morning, fuck around for 2 or 3 hours, and
Yeah.
then get to work. Because I am not a morning person, part of my morning routine is I get up, I get a cup of coffee, and then I go back to bed and I read. It's just very nice to start your day with a novel, nothing related to work. I try for it to not be related to work.
What are you reading right now?
Valeria Luiselli, the Mexican novelist, she has a new novel out in Spanish, Comienzo Medio Fin or something like that. I speak Spanish, so I try to read Spanish novels in Spanish to maintain the language.
Have you come across that book? The English title is You Dreamed of Empires.
Yeah, I reviewed Álvaro Enrigue's other book, Now I Surrender, and That
Yeah.
Is All, inspired by the Apache Wars. And so I had read You Dreamed of Empires prior to that. And Enrique and Luiselli were married. I don't know if you're
Oh, I
aware of
didn't
that.
know
Yeah,
that.
they were a couple. They were this like big Mexican literary couple. But You Dreamed of Empires, I absolutely adored because it's basically like the conquest as told through a mushroom high. Like
Yes. Yeah.
everybody is like screwed up beyond belief. And he just has such especially being able to read him in Spanish, the musicality of the way he deploys the language and Mexican slang in a very accessible way. Like, yes, you're reading a historical novel, but it doesn't feel like it's like you're just listening to somebody spin a yarn about a
Mm.
historical episode.
Part of what I like is in the English edition, there's a note to the translator specifying which words to leave untranslated. And there is this sense when you're making your way through the first, I don't know, 50 to 100 pages, there are certain untranslated words that, for at least for me, you had to learn the language in a way.
Yeah, and in that novel, he uses a lot of Nahua words and leaves them as is. And it's really interesting because Now I Surrender has some of that too. There are expressions in Spanish that are left in Spanish because they are kind of untranslatable,
Mm.
kind of bring your own meaning to it. And it's almost like his writing is so much about cadence that translating certain expressions just completely like murders the cadence of Spanish. And so
Yeah.
I think in leaving some of those expressions in, he wants to sort of maintain some of that rhythm that you get when you read his novels in Spanish versus English. English is a bit more
Mm.
of a clinical language, whereas Spanish, there's like a musical element to it that no matter how great the translation, and he has a really good translator, Natasha Wimmer is an excellent translator, like you just
Mm.
can never quite fully get that
Capture
that
it.
rhythm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can you think of a time when exercise brought you to a kind of euphoric place or a transcendent state?
Besides like dancing like a maniac in concerts or at dance clubs.
That counts too.
Yeah, I mean, I've been back in the day in the 90s, I was really into house music and we go to the Sound Factory bar in New York and it's just
Mhm.
like spend all night dancing. Like it was just talk about cardio. It was all night dancing. There was definitely something euphoric about that. But in terms of exercise, I think it would be the half marathons. There is that period I would hit like in the 7 mile mark,
Mm.
6 mile mark, at least for me, where I would just feel like, okay, I see what people are talking about. Like there's
Yeah.
this kind of little buzz that you get and your body is going and you feel good. And to be woo woo about it, like you're almost like vibrating with everything. And I feel
Yeah.
like that is probably the most euphoric I have felt. That and I once took surf lessons and catching my first rides was like
That's an amazing feeling.
my brain was on just on fire. Like, whoa.
On the flip side, can you think of a time when exercise brought you through an especially difficult period in life?
Yeah, for sure. I think, definitely when my father died in 2008 and I helped take
Mhm.
care of him. He had brain cancer and I did a lot of yoga during that time. And I used to go out on really long walks on the days that I was not helping care for him.
Yeah.
Being able to take a break, to do something physical, to not be talking to someone, to not be reading something, to not be writing something, to just really kind of just letting the physical rule was so critical to me
Mm.
during that time and through other stressful periods.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Carolina, we like to end on a lightning round.
Okay.
Cardio or strength training?
Strengths.
Protein shake or protein bar?
Neither. They both sound disgusting.
All right, fair.
I hate the sound of the word protein. I also don't like the sound of the word smoothie.
I love that you're coming at it from an aesthetic standpoint.
100%. There's nothing that kind of murders a restaurant experience more than when they're like, would you like a protein on
Yes.
that? One of the things that I've just have been resisting in recent years is this whole culture of optimization. Like I don't use workout apps or running apps. I don't
Yeah.
keep track of my steps. I'm like, Silicon Valley does not need to know anything else about me. And
Yeah.
I feel like the whole thing of what protein do you want on your salad is culture of optimization speak, and I will have no part of it.
Cottage cheese or Greek yogurt?
Greek yogurt for sure.
Do you have a favorite post-workout snack?
Usually unsweetened coconut water for the electrolytes. But I always keep a jar of raw nuts and dried fruit in my studio. So if I need a snack, that's what I go to.
Peanut butter on a banana or a date?
I'm not a big peanut butter eater. My parents never made me peanut butter sandwiches. They're South American, so peanut butter is not like a South American food. So we never really ate it. It's one of those things that I don't entirely understand its appeal.
You'd rather have your nut, the like whole nut experience.
The whole nuts with my whole pieces of dried fruit. Yeah, with a few dark chocolate chips thrown in just for funsies.
Do you think you'd rather meet your artistic hero or your athletic hero?
Neither. Never meet your heroes. There's
Don't meet
always
your
just
heroes.
Yeah, do not
Just
meet
let
your
them be.
If you want them to be heroes, do not meet them.
Would you rather run on a path, like a trail, or run on the road?
Just because I'm getting old, I would say probably a road because it's nice and flat and clear. Part of the reason I do work out is because I want to make it to my 80s and still be like fully active like my mom is. My mom is in great shape
love
and goes
that.
out for hikes and she's 81 years old. So it's also like doing things where I'm just like, okay, I don't want to trip on a rock and mess up my knee forever.
Right. Is there a certain exercise that just kind of says hell to you that you would imagine doing in hell?
Push-ups for eternity would be truly hell. Especially listen, I'm a pear-shaped Latina. I was not designed for push-ups.
And what about heaven? What says heaven to you?
I know this sounds crazy. I really like doing squats.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Well, thank you so much, Carolina. This has been such
Thank
a joy
you.
talking with you. We appreciate you taking the
Super
time.
fun. Just do one Jane Fonda workout video is all I have to say. Just
I mean, I'm in. Join us next time as we talk to author and podcaster Dory Shafrir about starting to play competitive tennis in middle age, how hosting a podcast is similar to rallying across the court, and how training for a marathon helped her write her first novel. See you then. Secretly Sporty was created and is produced by Sebastian Langdell and Austin Rackless. It's hosted by me, Sebastian Langdell, edited by Austin Rackless and Andy Rattinger. Our theme music is composed by Catherine Joy. Cover art by Ben Wiseman, represented by Illustration Division Inc. Interstitial music by Odonian from the album Undone. This outro song you're listening to right now is Never Kneel by Odonian. Special thanks to Kit Rackless, Amy Albert, and Liam Billingham. Please note that we are not medical professionals nor personal trainers. Not all exercises are suitable for everyone. Always consult a doctor before starting any new exercise routine or nutritional program. The views expressed in this show are those of the show's creators or the guests, and not those of any other entity or institution.